You know, one of the coolest things about doing Hempfest is the incredible freedom fighters that we get to meet and to know and to work with on this stage and on all of our 6 stages. The amazing Americans and beyond, and people from other nations. We had so many people from Canada today, activists from Australia today speaking, from all over the world really. And the people that travel all over the world, they understand that people are fighting the same struggles in every country, in every nation, every people, in every community. It's the same struggle. And we're all the same because we're one globe and one family. And our next speaker, such a great guy. You've seen him on television. You've read his travel books. And now you're going to see him on Hempfest stage. He's going to speak to you about New Approach Washington and I-502. They're poised to make history. Give it up to my brother Rick Steves.
Thank you. Wow, great to be here. As Vivian was mentioning, I'm a travel writer. And for me, High is a place. It's a very cool place where my speakers sound better, where suddenly I'm a good cook, where conversations slither around like stray cats. And you know, sometimes I want to go there. And a lot of people do. And our government says we cannot. And today there are 80,000 Americans in jail because they wanted to go to that place called High, and our government says we cannot go there. Now there are cases, I believe, when our government says we can't go there, and I think it's right. But there's got to be a good reason, and as far as I'm concerned, there's no good reason for us to not to go to that place called High. I believe the responsible adult recreational use of marijuana is a civil liberty. Now, it's a drug. I'm not promoting it. I acknowledge it's not healthy. It can be abused. It can be addictive. It's not for kids. And it's not for driving. And as far as I'm concerned, if you're caught intoxicated driving, intoxicated on anything, they should throw the book at you. But still, the principle remains: enjoying marijuana responsibly is a civil liberty. Now, our government is waging a very expensive, perpetual losing war on marijuana, and it's based on lies and fear. It's demoralizing our police force. It's eroding the credibility of parents and teachers who need to have credibility to teach our young people the dangers of serious drug abuse. This war on marijuana is costing our country billions of dollars, messing up hundreds of thousands of lives. In the last year alone, our government arrested 800,000 Americans, mostly for simple possession of marijuana. And now these people have a criminal record. We're not arresting rich white guys, we're arresting poor people and black people. This is a scourge on our society. Now, I bring a European perspective to the discussion, and in Europe a joint is about as exciting as a can of beer. Europe has a very effective drug policy based not on how many people can you lock up, but it's based on pragmatic harm reduction. In Europe, they decided to take the crime out of the equation and deal with drug abuse as a health problem and an education challenge. They have a fundamentally different approach to drug abuse than we do, and we've been waging our war on marijuana for 40 years, and the fact is, we Americans smoke double the pot per capita that Europeans do. There's no correlation between how hard are the laws and how much do you consume. My friends in Europe love to remind me, a society has to make a choice. Tolerate alternative lifestyles or build more prisons. And then they always remind me that here in the United States, we lock up 8 times as many people per capita as they do in Europe. Either we are inherently more criminal people, or there's something screwy about our laws. Now, what shapes American drug policy? It's fear, it's misinformation, it's a generation or two of reefer madness propaganda. Europe's drug policy is shaped by experience, thinking out of the box, working for harm reduction. There's a lot of Americans that really believe there's a whole reservoir of people that would love to ruin their lives smoking marijuana if only it was legal. Well, the Europeans have found that there's not a lot of people wanting to smoke pot who don't already smoke pot. In Portugal, 10 years ago, they decriminalized the consumption of all drugs. 10 years later, they've reviewed that law and they found that consumption did not go up. They just took the crime and the violence out of the equation and treated it in a pragmatic harm reduction point, and they like that policy. A lot of Americans are worried that marijuana is not that big a deal, but it's a gateway drug. One toke and you're on the way to heroin addiction. Well, Europeans have found that the only thing gateway about marijuana is its illegality. If it's illegal, the only place you can get it is from some criminal on the street who's got a vested interest in selling you something more addictive and more profitable. It's been 25 years since they arrested a pot smoker in the Netherlands, and their use has not gone up, and their hard drug taking population has gone down. We're at a crossroads these days, and it's our federal government holding the line against different countries and different states that realize it's time for a new approach. Our government has strong-armed and extorted the entire world to keep marijuana illegal. And the lines are drawn right now. There's a law that we've written in the United Nations that requires all nations to wage trade sanctions on any nation that has the nerve to legalize marijuana. This is a tough thing, and we're going to change it. Countries are legalizing and states are legalizing. Colorado, Washington, and Oregon may well legalize marijuana this year. I'm a co-sponsor of Initiative 502. And Initiative 502 will legalize, tax, and regulate marijuana for adults. And I think that this is a winnable law. It's smart law. Now, some people wish it would go further, but I'll remind you, prohibition against alcohol was finished only by state action against federal law, and the first laws took baby steps. At first it was just beer that was legal, gin remained illegal, and then the law evolves with the comfort level of that society. I-502 is a big and constructive leap forward. Now, what motivates me and my co-sponsors on I-502 is not that we're pro-pot necessarily, but it's that we are pro-civil liberties. I'm a hardworking, kid-raising, church-going, tax-paying citizen of the United States. If I work hard all day long and want to go home and enjoy a joint, that's my civil liberty. We've come a long way with 21 years of Hempfest here. When we vote yes on I-502 this November, we may be the first state in the United States of America to legalize, tax, and regulate marijuana. That is a huge triumph. Vote yes on I-502. Thanks. And happy travels, even if you're just staying home, all right?
Thank you so much, Rick Steve from New Approach Washington Initiative I-502.